Outside the dungeon, Hari and Kim are speculating about the power Leon just demonstrated to them. Why didn't he use his divine power right away? The deputy was perplexed. A reply sounded from behind them. Then, this honorable knight would have met his end as a necromancer. But a knight lives for honor. Honor comes from action, and action comes from will. And Dullahan got what he deserved as an honorable knight. After saying that, he resolutely walked towards the place where the bounty that had fallen out of the dungeon lay. They were the Dullahan cloak, the great sword of Dullahan, the necromancer's pearl, the mana stones, and so on. Kim and Hari immediately marveled at the pearl, for it looked like it contained a huge amount of mana and would sell for a decent amount of money. Trash, the protagonist utters, and with a single kick of his foot shatters the pearl into dust. Everyone present glazes over with shock. Such things only cause chaos, he explains. This is how the gates of Hanum were protected. 4 days have passed since the protagonist returned to Earth. It was not an easy time for Deputy Commander Han Hari. After closing the dungeon, the question of paying taxes on the reward arose, to which Leon indignantly said that the king should not count his coins, it should be done by his servants. Then the taxation of the divine lands had to be solved. At first, the farmers were puzzled by Leon's tax of 90% of the income from rice sales. But it was worth explaining to them that the crop was now tens of thousands of times more expensive, and even that 10% was many times their previous income. So the first followers appeared on the divine land, but the main problem was to find suitable housing for the protagonist. None of the modern apartments could please his requirements. He fiercely demanded a luxurious bed, servants who would always be around, and a picture that he could admire at any moment. Poor Hari had to search for a room in a 5-star hotel until 2 a.m. So they came to a compromise, in the form of a painting or a vase in the room. Hari takes a deep breath and cheerfully brings his royal breakfast into Leon's room. "Have you eaten yet?" asks her protagonist, and hearing a negative answer, continues, "You have to eat while you can. You shouldn't skip meals." She takes the lids off the sumptuous dishes one by one, and already in her head she is imagining how she will eat a tuna sandwich later. "Proceed," Leon tells her. The girl does not believe such generosity, and embarrassedly sits down at the table, opposite him. But in fact, everything turned out quite differently. The main character did not offer her to share the meal at all, but only commanded her to start preparing food for the reception. After breakfast, from the hotel they went to check into the accommodations that the association had found for them. These apartments looked truly luxurious. Most importantly, they were right next to the association and had a helipad on the roof. All this was kept top secret, so when a tall man in an elegant suit was waiting for them in the lobby, Hari was seriously wary. He introduced himself, "I'm the director of the Food of the Future Dojin Company Dojin Group, Park John-chan." Hari realizes that the director of such a giant company couldn't just happen to be here by chance, but what does he want? Chan extends his palm to the protagonist as a handshake, but the latter grimaces and exclaims, "A pathetic peddler wants to shake my hand?" After these words, they retire to the apartments, leaving John Chan alone. Later we realize that the director of the Doju group has come for a reason. His sources have already told him about the divine rice that cures even cancer, and like a true businessman, he decides to get his hands on it by all means. His employees are already conducting tests on rats, and a farmer's dog that was near death is completely cured before their eyes. So Chan comes up with a new plan to gain the survivors' trust. Upon returning to Earth, Leon set 3 goals for himself. The first, to spread faith in divinity. There are many gods and their followers on Earth, but the most important thing, divine power, does not exist here. The god is supposed to accept people's faith and bless the earth. But instead, people get sick and the earth gets polluted. So in order to utilize the divine power, a new faith is needed. Therefore, it is necessary for more people to believe in a new god. The second thing is to recreate the shrine army. In this world, there are no organizations of fighters using divine power. And while the keeper of the Holy Grail, King Lenhart, is considered a demigod, the knights of the shrines are saints. They are knights of the gods using divine power. And the third, to destroy all the evil thriving on this earth. This is what the protagonist was thinking about now. looking out of the window of his aports and leisurely sipping red wine. At that moment, Hari informs him that someone has requested an official meeting with him. And now they are expecting guests at their place. Once again, it was the director of the Dojin groups, Park Jan-chan. This time, he came bearing gifts. In his plans, he was going to wow the surviving savage with a first-class item to get Leon on the hook to become his personal manager. Inside the crate were the most elite blades that the Dojin Group company prides itself on. These are first-class weapons that money can't even buy. But despite his efforts in response, the protagonist once again indignantly exclaimed, "And where do you think I should use this low-rank weapon?" At such words, Hari and Chan were paralyzed with shock, and Leon explained to them in a moralizing manner that good weapons couldn't be made without the aura of stars or holy blessings. Your blades are only good for killing chickens and cows, but since you're a merchant and it's your job to flaunt your wares wherever you go, I'll still give it a try. And with those words, he pulls his legendary blade out of the air and commands Hari to choose any of the weapons on display to her liking and test them out. The girl then takes the sword she has been admiring for the past few years. Master Park Jin-ho's sword is the Dawn Sword. Holding it in her hands, she feels the powerful force that emanates from the blade. During all the preparations, Leon can't stop making caustic comments about the weapon, disparaging Yung-chan over and over again. Hari draws her blade and strikes Leon's sword with all her might. And then, her blade shatters against the noble sword like a cheap glass toy. Everyone but the protagonist is shocked. He summarizes that this weapon is even worse than he thought, and demands that Chan state in a nutshell what he wants from it. The latter, still not quite recovered after his company's best weapon has just been destroyed, directly states that he wants the patent rights to the rice paddies. But the unfortunate man still thinks that he is an ordinary savage who can be easily bought with a tidy sum of money. Which, moreover, is an order of magnitude less than the real value of the field. He already decides that the protagonist has fallen for his bait, as Leon insults him again, "Inferior merchant. How dare you insult my deity?" In front of Park Chan's face arose all the lion-like rage of the protagonist. He was ready to die of fear. Leon, on the other hand, goes on to say that this blessing was given as a reward to the farmers who sweated and labored in the fields. This is not something that money can buy. A grateful heart and faith is what is required as payment. After explaining, he humiliates Park Chan again and finally asks, "Why do you want to possess the divine resources of a goddess you don't believe in?" After such a total debacle, Park Chan and his aides hurriedly leave. And Hari worries whether he should have just let them go. But Leon is completely calm, because such a lowlife cannot affect him in any way. Now it is more important for him to find his future sacred knights. To do this, they go to the association, and something else strange in a convolution holds in his hands Hari. At the Hunters Association, we are shown a stout man who has come to take an exam to raise his level. This is an independent D-rank hunter, Gu Dae-sung. He greets an older man, the manager of the miners team, named Kim Do-han. Together, they discuss jobs and qualifications, and in between, Kim Do-han invites Gu Dae-sung to join him, promising that he'll quickly become an ace on the team. But the hunter has other plans for his life. Even though not even the most talented fighters reach C rank, Gu Dae-sung has been unable to reach that level for the past 10 years. It's a necessity for him, as he has a family to support. Suddenly, they notice a tall stranger with European appearance and decide that he's also here for the exam. The manager hurries to greet the young man, but he blows the old man away in a rude manner. His gaze lingers on Gu Dae-seong. Gu Dae-seong's breath is taken away by the unknown power he senses from the stranger. Meanwhile, Leon is discouraged to realize that only low-ranked hunters and newly awakened hunters come here to take tests. At this point, he is summoned to room 9 to take the test. Inside he is greeted by 3 men, and explained that at this point they will analyze his abilities. Of course again, this is not without the standard arrogance on Leon's part, and at the suggestion that he put his hand on the measuring device to assess his abilities, he again loses his temper. "Fool, How dare a peasant try to test a knight's honor? The agitated man assures him that the gauge will take care of all the calculations, but it doesn't save the situation. Crossing his arms over his chest, the protagonist continues to yell at him. How dare a mere machine measure the strength of a knight? Only noble knights and gods can do that. The confused men ask why he came then. To which Leon openly replies that he is here to seek soldiers for himself, but even the judges here are insignificant. Annoyed, he moves on to the next challenge. The Gates of Soul. Cleansed gates usually become closed gates, but some are left for situations like this. We see Gu De Seong again. Besides him, we see two newcomers. A guy with a spear and shield and a girl archer. A chill old man and that weird European guy from the lobby. Based on that, Gu De Seong decides that this guy is also a newcomer. Will everything be okay? The first to begin introductions was Gu De Sun. I'm in my 10th year as a hunter and my class is warrior. My main position is mediator. The guy and girl turned out to be brother and sister. Tae Hong had awakened this year and fights with a spear and shield. And his sister, Shin Naeun, uses daggers and is just mastering the bow. De Sun starts to get even more nervous, and to take away the fear, asks the guys if they've been to training centers before. We trained at one, for 3 months. They exclaim proudly. They're complete profane, thinks De Sun. The chill grandpa's name is Kong Tae. He tells them that he fights with gloves, that he awakened a long time ago and has been working for 5 years. Gu De Sung sweats even more. The grandfather's experience is too little in relation to his age. Besides, with the gloves, you can't keep a distance like you can with a bow or spear. Finally, De Sun turns to Leon and says, "Foreign mercenary, do you speak Korean?" Leon squints a complicated face, and emotionlessly utters, "I don't fight. It's not proper to use a sword that can slay a dragon to hunt chickens." After these words, De Sun is defeated. They advance deep into the location. For the test you need to kill 50 kobolds. The instructor informs the team. Also, he specifies that sometimes gnolls may appear on the battlefield. And if he considers them very dangerous, he will intervene and help. During this time De Sun is not over anxious, and he cannot get out of his mind the moment at the start, which happened to this strange foreigner. He took no weapon with him to the gate, and when Naeun offered him her bow, he took it in his hands with contempt and said, "Do you want the king to use this?" And then his face darkened with indignation. A knight is not supposed to use a ranged weapon. "I'm not a coward." And with those words, he threw the bow to the ground with all his might. The team went numb with shock. In order to pass the test for sure, De Sun proposes to go the way he already knows. The team supports him. His plan includes hunting the kobolds in the caves. They must spread dry grass at the entrance and set it on fire, thus smoking them out of the caves. Tae-hun and Naeun marvel at his idea, to which De Sun waves it off with a smile. But such tactics are nothing to be proud of, he reasons. He's been studying all manner of manuals and battle techniques, in hopes that someday he'll be able to enter the high-ranking gate. But for now, the blue level is his maximum, so he intends to get promoted this time around at all costs. Suddenly, they encounter a group of kobolds. Tae Hong, block their attacks with your shield, De Sun commands, pulling out his sword. The kobold wolf men attack head-on, and Tae Hoon easily manages to hit one of them. He is so pleased with his victory that he doesn't notice the next one attacking him. Naeun screams to warn his brother, but De Sun comes to his aid just in time. He mortally wounds the kobold with one blow, and addresses the crew, "Don't let your guard down. They may be weak, but they are extremely agile." Meanwhile, Oldman is pounding the kobolds with a juicy kick, so that they only have time to fly away from him in different directions. The team successfully manages the first attack. De Sun even takes a little breather, and begins to believe that this time everything will go smoothly. His partners aren't such bad warriors. Except for one thing. Leon has been doing nothing all this time and just stood there with a sour face. "Hey, foreigner," De Sun shouts to him. "Why did you stand there while we fought?" The whole team agrees with him, and the instructor assures them that he will take this moment into account when calculating the scores in the finals. Soon they come to the caves, lay out the grass, and Dasun is about to set it on fire when he hears the foreigner's disgruntled voice from behind. "Is that all you can do?" In response, the guy is indignant and a small conflict ensues between them. "How can you rely on your experience when you have so little?" The foreigner doesn't relent. Dasun sends him away and finally sets the grass on fire. Everyone is ready for the final battle with the kobolds. A crowd of anthropomorphic wolves fly out of the caves to the outside. Nayan is the first to attack from afar, and the others throw rocks at the kobolds with all their might. Dasun rejoices that it won't be long before they're done, and all that's left is to kill a couple of gnolls in the fields. But out of nowhere, a gnoll captain appears. A huge bear with meter-long claws and a creepy face. This is the boss of Soul Gate, and he is much stronger than the C-rank monsters. Immediately, the team is redistributed. Nayan and Oldman stay to fight the kobolds, while Dasun and Taehoon take on the boss. Dasun realizes that with his rank, going up against this monster is suicide. But there is no way out. They surround the gnoll, and the guy, seeing the fear in Taehoon's eyes, immediately gives him a powerful blow. The guy doesn't have time to react and falls to the ground. Dasun realizes that the situation could lead to death, but why is the examiner standing calmly? Because he promised to intervene in case of danger. Realizing that there is no one to hope for, Dasun desperately rushes to protect Taehoon. The beast strikes next, but Dasun manages to block it with his shield. With his last strength, he throws the gnoll's axe away, but a second blow follows. Taehoon's hope is futile, but he's too scared to pull himself together. But will Dasun be able to fend off the next one? The beast swings the axe with all his might, but suddenly his attack is stopped by the foreigner. In his elegant manner, with his fingers alone he restrains this gigantic blade. "Try again," he says to Dasun. The man is stunned, not realizing what's even going on here. But the Leon demands that he fight the gnoll again. After all, he was able to repel its attack once before. The gnoll and Dasun are puzzled in front of him, only that it was a battle to the death. Dasun declares this to Leon, to which he yells at him again and demands that he not cross him. The altercation ends as the gnoll prepares to attack again. "Take a shield, block the blow, and attack again," the Leon yells to him. Dasun manages to fend off the monster's attack. From the side, he again hears criticism and admonishment from the foreigner. "Don't bury your potential, focus, you can do better." From these words, faith in his own strength is born in Dasun's heart. He now has a strong feeling that he can overpower his opponent. Striking again, the guy concentrates all his strength in his hands, the blade of the axe meets the shield. And with great effort, Dasun throws the giant axe off. Rejoicing in his success, he completely forgets that the beast also has a left arm, which right at that moment powerfully nails the guy in the face. The result of this year's Dasun test is a D rank. After the battle, at the association's office, we see that the grandfather is actually the director of the Hunters Association, Oh Kong-hyuk, just using a mask to change his appearance. But, of course, Mr. Oppa recognizes him right away. They have a quiet conversation, during which Mr. Kong-hyuk tells him that he has someone in mind for him. Kong-hyuk is very excited after he sees the power he can use in the gate. With one finger, he destroys a gnoll captain. A rank a monster. The director of the association promises Leon his support in founding the guild, and gives him advice on how to become famous on the battlefield in this world. He tells him about the gate that turned red because of a failed raid attempt. For a year now, no one has been able to clear them to get the Wisdom Stone, which is protected by the Red Gate's boss, a spinner psycho. A raid by the first squad of the KRR Guild enters the red level gate near the Jeju Sports Complex. We can see that this world is much more advanced than on Earth. Tall skyscrapers, complex architecture. A true cyberpunk. The team discuss their preparations, and prepare to face a very powerful opponent. First, They decide to climb a tall building to better assess the situation from there. At that moment, a mechanical gate creaks open somewhere. Already at the top, one of the team members, Ho Yul, reports to his captain that he hasn't found any enemies yet. There are no NPCs or monsters in this world, and even the dungeon boss, Spinner Psycho, is hiding unknown. The team is wary. The commander informs them that they should keep watch for now, and a team will soon be assembled to scout the area. Just as he has time to say this, a powerful beam from the street hits him in the head, and the captain falls dead to the floor. The team members are terrified and rush for cover, but at that moment a hail of shells falls on them. The building is blown to pieces. None of the guys were not prepared for such a strong enemy. They realize that this raid could be their last. The deputy commands them to retreat, as the building could collapse at any moment. Archer Hyo-ri runs first to check the path. There are no enemies outside, and it looks like the exit is safe. But instead, we see Hyo-ri's body first frozen in midair, and then cut by 100 strings stretched out in the city. The survivors make their way out, cutting the wires with their swords, at which point the Spinner Psycho is already watching them. From afar, the robot strikes again with its powerful light whip. This time, what remains of the raid is their deputy. "Show yourself, you piece of shit," he shouts in rage, and at that moment, out of the dust, he sees a robot moving towards him. A moment, and he is already entangled in the deadly weapon. There are no more survivors. For a long time, the raids on the gate stopped. But today, a group of people entered the gate at the Jeju Sports Complex. They are the ones who expect to obtain the Wisdom Stone. In this group, we see the top guild Golden Lion. Its guild master is Jem Chul, S rank, his deputy Young Ha, a rank, and their 47 guild members. A mercenary group of 48 members and their leader is Dae Sun, almost S rank. Also, Han Hari of the Korean Association, who respectfully serves barley tea to some unknown hunter. At the 4th Raid Team headquarters in Jeju Gate, preparations for the attack are underway. Hari is worried that things might not go according to plan. She asks Leon not to interfere in the battle, to which the latter actively agrees. Afterwards, he starts the old song about the duties of a king and a night king. He claims that first of all he must be a reliable shield to intervene and protect his subordinates in case of danger. So if a sword is picked up by the king, it's a disgrace to the knight, and a sign that the situation is very serious. And what a coincidence, looks like I'll have to intervene again, instead of these pathetic weaklings, Leon says capriciously. In response, Hari insists that this time the raid is being led by a Jem Chul of S rank and a very powerful mage. He concludes pathetically that these hunters haven't seen real war.